Give me a video for glitch777 again. What up, Glitch? And what up, SJ Poor, if you're there? Oh, I decided to do a coffee video instead of a drinking video because I realized in retrospect the stories I got to tell aren't very good stories. Um, as in, they were bad moments. And so, one story is someone who was stealing trying to get me fired, and then a violent story about being attacked by like 10 dudes. It ended up not being 10 dudes. It turns out lots of people pretend they're going to fight and they don't. Is that a shadow? Shadow. Oh yeah, like when I do that, it makes the side of my face go dark gray. Oh, production value. So here's the story, Glitch. I worked at Lion's Restaurant, and there was a manager named Big Greg, and Big Greg was a bit of a weirdo. For instance, he on Halloween he'd go stand in a hallway and turn out one of the lights. He'd unscrew a light bulb. So you're moving fast. You're carrying big buckets full of knives and shit all the time. You're like corner, corner, come through the door, right behind you. So there's no accident. So you open the door, and it's pitch black in there, and then there's Big Greg with an axe. He thought that was funny. And he's in charge. This is a person who has a lot of responsibility. And he's hanging out in a hallway with the light off with an axe, trying to scare people that are carrying gigantic tubs full of knives. And so I was watching Big Greg like help clear off tables, and he did it way more than any other manager did, which I admired. And then I'd watch him slide the tips into his pocket, and I figured, well, he's going to give it back to that lady. And then go through another waitress's section, clean off tables, and slide her tips into the same pocket. And I'm like, well, how does he know how to divide the tips between those two ladies? I'm a young kid at this point in time. I was a teenager. And so I went to like the two ladies, and I'm like, did Big Greg give you the tips? Like he was taking tips off that table and tips off that table, and he was putting them in the same pocket. So I was wondering, how do you figure out whose tips are whose? And she's like, he doesn't give us our tips. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? She's like, he's stealing our tips. And I go, oh shit. And then so when I worked with him, I was a host. So I was seating people, and I would just pick up people's tips. Because I'm in a hurry. I'm seating people. It's busy. It's a Sunday. Church crowd's hitting. And I'm scooping up tips. And each tip I put in a different pocket. And then I go back behind the counter when I have a moment. I lay down doilies with everyone's name on it. And I make a pile of everyone's money. And then this one woman sees me scooping up everyone's tips, and she thinks, well, now Big Greg's stealing, and Little Earl's stealing. And so she freaks out. And I'm like, over here is where I'm putting everyone's tips. She said, well, how do I know you're putting all the money down? And I'm like, all right, so that's a good point. You don't know. So I won't pick up any of your tips. Ladies, did you want me to continue picking up your tips? And they're like, hell yeah, I've never made more money than I've made today. And then the lady talks to those girls, and she comes back and says, okay, you could pick up my tips now. And I'm like, you just accused me of stealing from you. She's like, well, I didn't know what you're doing. I'm like, but I told you. She's like, yeah, but I thought you still might be stealing. I'm like, so now you want me to do it? She's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, fine. I will continue to help you out despite that. But I get it. As a young man, I'm like, hey man, if I've never stolen from you, shut the fuck up. If you know someone's stealing from you, you could call them a thief. But the fact that you know someone's stealing from you and you didn't call them a thief, and then you don't know I'm stealing from you and you called me a thief, I think that you got things turned around. I'm still angry about it after all these decades. So Big Greg suddenly realizes what's happening. And he's missing out on some money. And like, I don't know, like if you're like busy shifts, There's like 6 waitresses, however much money they make in a day. It's probably, I mean, it's 6 people's money. Like they're working for tips, and now he's making all of 6 people's tips. Probably a chunk of cash. So he's got to get rid of me. So his idea is to start taking money out of my till. And so I don't know this. And so I keep getting audited. I keep getting talked to by management. And every time I'm audited by management, not by Big Greg. My till comes out fine. And like, well, do you know why you're auditing you? And I'm like, well, I thought you guys count the till. Like, yeah, we count the till, but normally do it afterwards. I'm like, no, you count the till. Like I just had all these examples of other times when they count the till, and they're like, well, yeah, but it's not any of those times either. And I'm like, all right, but it's more than 5 or 6 different reasons to count the till. Now you've got a 7th or 8th reason. Like, I don't care. Like I've never been asked to help count the till. Like, so is this something I'll be doing from now on? And they're like, probably not for very much longer, Earl. I'm like, okay, good. I go back to work. And so here's what's really happening. I'm being investigated. The police are involved. The corporate is involved. They have me hold the key for the register. No one else is able to get in and out of the register. This goes on for a really long time. So while I'm being investigated, they catch Big Greg pulling money out of my till. It was the same thing that like you talked about. It's like, if they never witnessed it coming out of the till there using cameras, well then where else does the till go to? Well, it gets counted in this room. Like, well, let's put a camera in there too. That way, like we see them sealed up, get an envelope, put in a bank bag, and then taken to, and then a guy from corporate will then take it to the bank for deposits. So Big Greg doesn't realize that despite him bringing in an investigation for me, that they would put a camera in the office, and so they catch him stealing, and he goes to jail. And here's the thing. The only reason I know any of this happened, Glitch, is I said, eventually I'm like, where's Big Greg? I haven't seen him like in a month. And like, oh, he went to jail. And so here's the thing. Everyone in the whole, like, so we're talking like easily 30 people. 30 people I work with were all in on this operation. They all found out I wasn't the one stealing. They found out Greg was stealing. And 30 days later, no one told me. I mean, maybe they were all told, like, hey, don't talk about this or whatever. But then the second I'm like, well, wait, what the fuck? And then they told me everything. Like 30 people took a month to tell me only because I asked. They were all being secretive about it. And it kind of reminded me of like the first time I got accused of stealing. I'm like, well, shit, like, don't suggest that I stole from you. I was helping you. Like, fuck you. Like, oh, now you want me to help you? And so I think it was the same thing. They all went along with the idea, except for one waitress. They all went along with the idea that I was stealing. Like, well, you know what? He was collecting tips. And we don't really know. You know, like, there would have been the thought, like, you know, I knew he was stealing. But so it was once again, so they all treated him like a thief, but they already know how badly I reacted to the suggestion that I might steal, you know, $5 from some lady. Yeah, so that was it. That guy went to jail, dude. And tried to send me to jail. He would have sent me to jail if that would have worked. Because I was keeping him from stealing tips from some ladies. Like, some of those ladies were like old retired folks that were like trying to barely getting by. And he was like taking their money. He's like, well, I guess if I can't have her $3, I guess Earl better go to jail. Fuck, what a brain. So then this is another icky story. I didn't realize I was going to tell icky stories. It's like you had your stories and it's something like, oh, I remember 2 stories like that. And then later I'm like, oh, they're both bad. So I was working at a double venue doing security. I worked for myself. I had my own business and they hired me. And the other business said that the other business was just, they had done a thing where they got big enough that like uh, and the women wanted this. There was like Friday, Saturday nights. We got super busy. The women all arranged to all work together. It was going to be just a ladies' shift. Ladies cooks, ladies at the door, ladies security, lady, everything. And that's fun. Go into a bar and there's like, young tattooed hot girls all over the place. And then I was in a different venue, but they're connected. And there was a problem with a group, and they tried to solve it and couldn't. Then the owner tried to solve it and couldn't. And so at that time, I think I was taking money, so I wasn't doing security. I was working the door, and they're like, "We're taking over for you, Earl. We need you to go out and handle a problem." And so I come out to handle this problem, and then there's a ring of men around the doors, and there's 3 people at the exit harassing people trying to come in and out. And so I've seen this happen a lot in fights. It's happened around me. It happens around other people. People will just ring around a conflict and watch. Now, so what I didn't know is that ring was this 3 people. That's their group, and they had got kicked out, so they were cordoning off the building and making it hard for people to get out and making it hard for people to get in. And so people were just like trying to get in, going like, all right, you know what, fuck this, let's just go to another bar. And so, but I think I'm just dealing with 3 people. And so I plunge on through. There was a brief moment where I felt like, oh, those seems like those 2 guys tried to block me out. But but in my mind, I'm like, well, maybe they just didn't want to share the space. So like, I'm watching this, buddy. Don't get in front of me. Like in a concert, you wouldn't want someone tall standing in front of you. So I go deal with these people, and I'm able, without touching them, to back them away from the entrance. And so that ring kind of broke, which kind of reinforced the idea that they weren't together. And then it was one big guy that looked like like an overweight football player, like slightly athletic, but like, been drinking beers for a couple of years, and then 2 smaller friends. And I wasn't worried about it. At this point in time, I was a practicing martial artist. I had a 2nd degree black belt. I was training. I was running a yoga studio. So I was not only training, teaching, but doing yoga several times a week. And my main form of transportation was a bicycle. So I'm in good shape. And so this guy, the big guy, says like, come on, I want to show you something. Come on, I want to show you something. And he steps into the street. And I'm actually thinking this is a good thing. Because if he starts to move into the street, I could keep him moving and get him off our block. And then his 2 friends will follow. And then I could deal with him across the street. That color thing is really starting to bother me. And he says, hey, I just wanted to show you this. And he holds up his phone, and then he tries to move it past my head. So I'll turn my head to look at it. But I've never had people pull the phone thing on me. But I've had people try to pull, basically like distract you. Like, well, what about those people over there doing that one thing? I'm like, well, I'll deal with them in a little bit. I just stay zoned in. So I stayed zoned in. And so as he's doing this, he pulls back his fist, and it's just on. I pushed him back. He went up on a hood. His 2 friends started coming, which I was expecting. As he comes sliding off the hood, I sweep his feet so it spins him sideways, and he comes off sideways. And I step forward, and this is a technique I developed. So this is like the one good part of the story. I step forward to step on his jacket. You put your full weight on someone's jacket, and no one ever figured it out, Glitch. They could figure out they can't get up, but they don't feel any pressure on their body. They don't feel some guy holding them. There's no grip or anything like that. They're just hooked. They're hooked on something. And I turned to deal with those 2 guys. And one pauses, and he's not going to fight. So it's really one guy. But this one guy launches himself, and now redirection is easy. Like redirection is real easy. Takedowns are pretty easy. Redirection is real easy. And so I redirect him almost straight out into traffic. And now I see that all those men that were ringing um, are whipping off jackets and shouting to each other, "Come on, man, let's kick this motherfucker's ass." I'm like, oh, fuck. Because at that point in time, I was the only security person they hired. They just thought one person can handle like 500 people. It was like a naive time in Portland. And actually, before I left, I actually told them, like, everywhere I'm working now is starting to beef up security. And there's companies now that I'm working for downtown that now have security every day. Like, it's no longer just Friday, Saturdays. They do 7 days a week. And they tried to say, no, 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 no. But I left, and eventually they had to hire more. So, large group of people coming at me. I'm kind of in the center. I move along the front of the car, along the car. So now I've got a car behind me, and there's bike racks. And then so I slide along the car, get between the car, bike racks, 2 access points. I post up, and in any kind of self-defense situation, especially if you're working, and especially if you're working at the same place over and over again, is you can never behave in a way that makes anyone want to get revenge on you, because they could come at any single time, any day. They could send somebody else. You won't recognize them. They could come 6 months later. So you can't defend yourself in such a way that will put your life at risk later. But with, like, I don't know how many people there were, because like it was a lot of people, but it turned out to be like a small amount of combatants, so like maybe 5 combatants, and I didn't hold back. It was debilitating shots to soft portions of the body. For instance, you could hook someone underneath their sternum, and you're not punching. You're trying to get the weight underneath it, and you want to go. You just want to push. You want to make sure you get. It's not a punch at all. Like, literally, you could put the back of your hand against someone's belly, and then get it like right up above like the halfway point between the belly and the sternum, and push up in, and it interferes with your breathing, interferes with your heart. It actually sometimes takes a couple seconds. But suddenly that person stops, and they become like a statue or a mannequin. But I was doing low blows. Someone tried to climb over the bikes, and I'm not going to tell you what I did. I hit them in a way that I took them out of the fight. And then I looked around. I'm ready for the rest of them, and I saw it in everyone's eyes. Like, they just watched me stomp, not stomp. They watched me take out 5 dudes with 1 to 2 hits each, and none of the hits were like very, very violent. For instance, if you hit somebody about mid thigh, up on the outside of the thigh in a pressing kick, it'll send, if you do it right, and it's not that hard. It's like it's giving someone dead leg. If you've ever done that or had someone do that to you, if you give someone dead leg by kicking them with the instep of your foot, you get super dead leg, which makes I think it's the brachial plexus or whatever. It's like the nerve center at the base of your spine. It gets an emergency signal that goes straight to the brain, and your brain doesn't know what's happening, so it shuts your legs off. So you'll collapse. And it's something that you could practice, and it's not, there's no long-term negative effects. Like, so you could get 30 guys lined up, and you could dead leg them all, and they'll could collapse. And then you could shake it off, and your nervous system comes back online, and you could just do it again. Yeah, so you collapse people, you make it so that they have difficulty breathing, and you kick them between the legs. And that is what pretty much ended my career there, is because then I realized no one else was fighting. So then I backed up to where I had, I was on top of a staircase, and I'm like, the 5 people I just put down might continue to fight, but they're not going to fight me up a staircase. Um, like their head will be my foot height before they reach me, and they're gonna get kicked in the head. And the rest of the guys like shouting and yelling and stuff like that. And but no longer, they've all backed off. Like now we have excess egress and excess, and they all left. That one big heavy dude hung out for a little bit longer, but I wouldn't let him on the sidewalk. And every time he's like, "I'm gonna kill you, dude! I'm gonna kill you!" and he'd come up on the sidewalk, and I'm like, "I just need you off the sidewalk," and I'd come forward, and he'd go step into the street again. Um, so he got put down twice, and then the first time I incapacitated him by stepping on the jacket, and he was kind of aware of that, like he wasn't going to go for a third time. And yeah, then the owner pulled me aside. So the owner is a man who tried to solve the problem and couldn't, and then handed it over to me by myself, and I solved the problem. And his problem was, "I saw you kick a lot of people between the legs." And I'm like, "Yeah, I did." He's like, "Well, I don't think anyone should do that." And I'm like, "Well, it's difficult to fight 5 people all at once. So sometimes you have to do things that like you ordinarily wouldn't want to do. You know, definitely wouldn't want it to have done to you, but I don't stand out in front of bars trying to start fights." You know, and like, and so they were doing. So then we have that thing, and I'm like, "This guy doesn't respect me. Like he put me in a really bad situation, and I solved it, and he doesn't respect me. Like there's not many people that go out and face down 10 people and then be able to talk about it later, you know?" And so I thought, I don't think I'm going to be working here any longer. And so then afterwards we close. I think he wants to talk to me again, but he decides to talk to me at the other venue where it's just the ladies, and the ladies can't. The ladies all watched it, and they have like nothing but the highest praise. They're like we don't want to do. If we ever do this again, the ladies' night thing again, Earl needs to be the security up here. Like we want Earl here more. We don't want him at the other venue. Like you've got other guys for that. Like it's all guys there at that other venue. So like we want at least one guy here, and we want Earl to be here. So I think he was going to let me go or tell me that he didn't want to use me anymore. And then all the women were like, "We only want this dude." Because they watched him try to step up and not be able to solve the problem. And frankly, that was almost an unsolvable problem. Like I could have been seriously injured, and I could have seriously injured someone else, because I wasn't thinking like, when I got surrounded, all I was thinking like, "Oh shit, like you could handle this in such a way that you could break the rule of behaving in a way that people want to get, Jesus Christ, people want to get revenge on you. But then just don't work here anymore." You know, like, so this is it. So you want to go home. You want to be able to, you know, walk to your vehicle. You know, you want to be able to bicycle home. So do what you have to do. So I did. And there you go. Super fucking long video. All right. See you later.